Okay, as a reminder, please
Hello.
wait for the microphones. We'll open it up for questions for Yankee manager Aaron Boone. Andy?
You ready to announce your rotation?
Yeah, Tanaka will go game 1. Paxton will go in game 2, and then Sevy at home in game 3, and then we'll be TBD from there.
And what was the thought process behind flipping Tanaka and Paxton from the first series?
Again, I felt like it was a good decision. A tough one to be made, but similar to the division series where I was going back and forth a lot. Just felt like Massa here, game 1, is the way I wanted to go in the end.
Over there on the right. Yep.
Aaron, both teams had their bullpens well rested. How do you think that will affect the 7-game series?
Well, I mean, I think it's clear the bullpens will have to get important outs. You would expect some close games, so games that come down to the end where if you're going to be able to win a ball game, you're going to have to close it out. So, obviously we lean on our bullpen heavily. I think even though starting pitching is obviously very important, and if you're going to get where you want to go, you got to get good starts out of it as well. Usually when we look back at the end of these things, the teams that are able to close out leads keep on advancing.
Here in the middle.
What do you think of this franchise and what they've been able to build, how they built it? 3 consecutive seasons with 100 wins and 3 consecutive seasons in the ALCS with a World Series title.
Yeah, I mean, it's, obviously a great team, very well run. Obviously, they've done a great job with their farm system of developing, kind of homegrown superstars, as well as making a lot of decisions, smart decisions of bringing in, whether via trade, via free agency. They've certainly kind of established themselves as the class of this league here the last few years, and hopefully we can ding it a little bit.
Here on your far right, Ken.
Aaron, you've played a series that went the maximum length, and then you just managed to sweep. Do you think one team has an edge, and you're playing a team that went the distance?
I don't think so. I mean, you could sit and make a case for both ways, of wanting to keep on playing and playing high stakes games, and, us having a little bit of rest. I'm sure whatever way the first couple of games go, I'm sure people will hearken back to that and say the rest helped or hurt us, or vice versa. So I don't think there's a magic formula. These are obviously 2 great teams, and hopefully we'll kind of deliver. I think what the baseball world's probably anticipating.
We're going to stay here on the right, Dan.
Aaron, have you made any roster decisions, and in particular with Hicks and CC?
We have not finalized yet. Still working through it, actually. So, obviously watching last night's game, everyone was at home, so we did have a big roster meeting and talked through a lot of things yesterday for quite a while. And then obviously with the game last night and now flying this morning, we'll kind of get together again and hope to nail it down here pretty soon, but we have not made the final call.
You go in the back, Buster. Just wait for the mic. He asked my question. He did? Okay, then we'll go over here to Dave.
Aaron, as successful as the Astros have been at home this year, and they have a very loud, pretty charged up atmosphere here, you can't really do anything in baseball to counteract a home field advantage. But do you think you guys are suited for that type of atmosphere just because of the games you play in all the time, and whether it's in Boston or some of these other places? Can that be a benefit?
I do. I think our guys relish in this. Clearly the Astros have obviously shown that they have a real home field advantage here. not only this year, but even going back now a few years. And I think a lot of us are aware of how loud this place can be. But I do feel like our guys will relish in that, embrace that, and hopefully, find a way to have success through it all. But I don't worry about that affecting our guys and our performance.
Down here in the first row.
How were you all able to stay motivated going through all the adversity, especially with the injuries that you had this year?
Well, we had no choice, and we had guys that were called upon in those, kind of replacing injured players, and guys that where a lot was still expected of them. They expected a lot from themselves, and across the board, guys delivered for us in impactful ways and allowed us to, stay afloat and thrive all season long. And, kind of looking back on it all, the amount of people that really played important roles, some that aren't even with us right now, some that are down in Tampa staying sharp, some that are already home. We've had so many different guys have a hand in us being here today.
Third row, far right.
Aaron, when you took over this team after the 2017 ALCS, I mean, Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, those guys that just played in their first playoffs, how much have you seen those two guys and this whole team grow to maybe be better prepared now to go through a series like this?
Well, they represented pretty well back then, and obviously showed at a very young age that they were equipped to, handle all that the postseason can throw at you. I think in both cases, those guys have continued to grow in their, not only their game, but their roles on the team. They're, a growing voice on the team, and obviously, you're talking about Aaron and Gary. Those are two faces of our franchise and core players for us that, in the end, if we're going to win big this year, those guys will be right in the middle of it.
Right here in the hat, left.
Most of your guys have, like a lot of guys, have poor numbers against our big three, but you guys did get to see Verlander twice this year. I think you Greinke twice this year. Did not see Cole. How much is advantage that you got to see?
We saw Cole here, didn't we?
I don't think you saw him this year.
Yeah, we did. We played Cole here.
Okay. Well, how much is advantage of it that you got to see get some looks off of those guys?
You know what? I think it's better than not seeing them. Obviously, you're talking about the elite of the elite pitchers, so it's always going to be difficult. But I think the fact that, speaking as a hitter, anytime you've at least had a little bit of experience against a pitcher, I think that's beneficial, and hopefully something that some of our guys take with them. We look forward to the challenge of facing guys that are obviously as good as what the Astros can roll out there at you.
We'll take a few more. Sweeney, all right.
Aaron, does the longer series mean maybe a little bit longer leash on your starters, or do you think you'd be just as aggressive with your bullpen?
The game will kind of dictate it, and where you are in the series, and when the off days fall, who you've used. It just kind of depends. I mean, we're going for broke, so we'll try and do everything we can each and every day to win a ball game. Keeping in mind that everything has an effect on everything. So each and every day you got to make those kind of adjustments, and so we'll see how that plays out.
Okay, last one, Bob.
Aaron, last night when you said you're sitting back and watching the Astros game, are you admiring Garrett Cole's performance, or are you already thinking ahead, my God, how are we going to try to beat him in Game 3?
I was thinking, didn't he look like he aged out or something, like check his birth certificate. He's like the kid still pitching in Little League that was a little too good for the league, He's obviously a great pitcher in the prime of his career and in a really good stretch right now. So anytime you go up against a guy like that, it's hard. But it's also really fun, and especially when you have a team like us that is as good as we are offensively and as confident as those guys are. I think they'll look forward to that challenge and hopefully be able to, when you do get that mistake, hopefully you're able to take advantage of it, because those are going to be few and far between.
Okay, thank you, Aaron.
All right.
Masahiro Tanaka will be in a minute.